Hello, and welcome to Locutors of Trek, the podcast where we talk about the people, places, and things of Star Trek. So, replicate yourself from Romulan Ale or your synth selection of choice and join us far beyond the stars. I'm Dave, welcome.
And I'm Davin.
And today we welcome
Noor.
Dr. Mohamed Noor.
Hello.
Very much welcome.
We're playing simple
we're
tailors, and Mohammed's a tailor himself tonight.
Yeah, right now.
That's
I'm a terrible
right.
tailor. I don't even know how to say. I don't think I've said anything since home ec in 7th grade.
Well, I can confess also that home ec is the only class I ever almost failed in school.
Oh.
I remember just handing in my final project to the teacher saying, take it now.
I do remember
was
one
not-
of the things
not
I sewed though, in
skills.
that class was a little rocket ship onto a bag. So it's
Nice.
thematic still.
That's
Nice.
I would probably just sew rocket ships if I could sew. I don't know, my clothes be great. Yeah, we're going to talk biology again. We did a biology episode in season 1, but we realized we needed an expert, and that's what we're
Right.
doing here in season 2 of Locutors of
That's
Trek.
kind of the premise.
We're
of season
live.
2 entirely. Yeah.
We're in video now. All
That's
of our
right.
segments have become shows of their own, and we're bringing in the experts. So that's where we're at here in season
That's
2.
right. We've
So-
replicated and multiplied. In fact, Yeah.
we have, haven't we? Well,
yeah.
so Mohammed, I gotta say I enjoy your channel quite a bit.
Thank
BioTrekkie
you.
Explains.
Mhm.
I've definitely crammed, I think, probably all of your videos, and your other podcast with Jane Crook. is
Trekkie
it?
with the Admiral. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
very good.
that looks
I
like
missed that one. I mean, we haven't had any Discovery the past year now, so we've had a long hiatus. I mean, I think our last video was one of the very start of 2023, saying we're looking forward to chatting with you as soon as Discovery comes out. And now we're gonna probably have the same thing for 2024. We're still looking forward to chatting with you when Discovery
Well,
comes out.
Everybody's going back to work now, I think. So that
Yeah.
hopefully that speeds things up.
Hopefully.
Um,
Thank
so,
you for watching. I appreciate it.
oh well, it's good stuff. It's like
yeah.
your channel, our channel, maybe the two most criminally underwatched Star Trek channels on YouTube and the greater internets, I would say.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Paging CBS and all Star Trek minds.
It's interesting, the BioTrekkie Explains podcast. I started that right after the Star Trek cruise. That was in March 2020. So think about that timing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was the cruise that like we left and everyone was a little afraid about us coming back. Well, we came back. Oh, good.
That's probably I was going to say that's probably about when we started too. I think
Oh,
everyone
okay.
started
Mhm,
podcasting around that time, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my wife had suggested, like, why don't you make some? I mean, it seems like people like this. Why don't you make some educational videos or something like that? So I reached out to initially I reached out to the actual Trek people because I wanted to make sure I wasn't getting some sort of trouble. So I didn't know. I was like, I've never done this before. Like, are they gonna be mad at me if I do this? And they're like, you can do whatever you want. It's on your YouTube channel as long as you don't like play video from Star Trek, then it's fine. I'm actually extra careful about it since I work with them. I want like I don't even have like stills from TV shows. I'm always like, just use fan art, good enough. And like there's no possibility of any copyright issue there. Let me cover myself as much as I can.
Right. And wit, a little bit of wit goes a long way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Covers many sins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We discovered a lot of
Someone
things
probably
like
should be
art.
mad at us from Star Trek by now, but no one said anything. So
Hey, all good.
I keep paging them. No one responds.
I just use
So I
my
thought maybe-
communicator.
Maybe to start off,
Sure.
I'd throw up a couple of classic definitions
Okay.
for life. Maybe I think that may be a temeritous thing to begin with anyway, to try and define it as such. But let's go. So the first one, of course, is from my old dead best friend Aristotle, who defines bios or life as things that have a motion of their own. So growing things like plants have the motion of growth. Animals and things have local motion as well as growth. Rational animals have growth, local motion, and ratiocination as an activity, cognition, right?
Mhm.
But a little closer to home, and in some ways, I think we can see some relations. But we have Dr. Crusher in the episode Home Soil, classic season 1 episode
I love
with
it.
giant ugly bags of
With,
mostly water.
Exactly.
So
The
she
microgrid.
Who are you
says,
calling an ugly bag of mostly water?
I resemble that remark. So she says there are basic definitions for organic life. Must have the ability to assimilate, respirate, reproduce, grow, and develop, move, secrete, and excrete. And Picard, of course, asks, would any of those apply here? Perhaps growth and development. Data, reproduction. Yep, says Crusher, these two may be basic for any definition of life. Is that a decent place to begin? Is that a reasonably good biological starting point?
Well, it's a tough question, right? Because you can always find exceptions for everything, right? So, like talking about growth, crystals grow. Like we don't think crystals
Sure.
are alive, right? So, I mean, there's always exceptions, and there's exceptions the other way. I mean, in Star Trek, in Canada, they've said the Data is alive. He doesn't grow. He's the same size as he was like the day he was made, right? He hasn't grown at all. So
Crystalline entities notwithstanding.
Crystalline entities notwithstanding. Maybe those do grow. We don't know. But
maybe that's what they start out in, as home soil, right?
Yeah, right. Maybe those are the precursors. Who knows?
Oh my God, that's interesting.
Same with reproduction. I mean, mules are alive. They don't reproduce. Right. So I mean, there's so many things. It is, and it's interesting because we define life based on what we see here on Earth, right? And it's tough when we're saying we want to take it someplace else and use the same sort of definition, because it's all based on one, like all of life on Earth is actually related. There's one single origin of all of life. So yeah, people say, well, like there's microbes and there's fungi and there's plants and there's animals and stuff like that, but we're still all related. So even with that, the definition doesn't work great. It's kind of like some large subset of these characteristics are good. But I mean, one way to think about it is like, how would you define a game? Just as a thought experiment, right? Now, let me take a step back from that. Imagine how you define a game if you'd only ever seen Settlers of Catan and Seafarers of Catan and Cities and Knights of Catan. You'd say, okay, a game is this thing where like 4 to 6 people sit around a table, or 3 to 6 people sit around a table. They have dice, and they have little pieces of paper, and they have
collect wood.
There's one winner and stuff like that, right? That's how you define it. You go to some other planet and like, oh look, they've discovered Stratego. It's like, okay.
Well, all of a sudden somebody arrives with a basketball, right?
Exactly, and then you go even more
game,
like say a basketball or a hacky sack or a hockey stick. Like, okay.
Yeah. So we're sort of into the Wittgensteinian territory of family resemblance among these sorts of regions that we might call life.
Exactly. It'd be kind of like defining a tree and all you'd ever seen are oaks. It's like, and then somebody shows you a pine, you're like, what the heck is that?
Where are the leaves?
Yeah, right. Exactly. What are those little weird green sticks? What are those things?
Well, you mentioned how everything on Earth has the common ancestor, right? So that brings up the kind of the progenitors in my mind in that great Star Trek episode, The Chase, right? Yeah. So I just kind of wonder like how they would do that. So the progenitors, do you imagine they would kind of find out which planets are still in this primordial phase, I guess, or like whenever they encounter one, and then would they take a single cell, would you imagine, and implant it into single-celled organisms, and that would then be enough to have all of these planets where they've done this all kind of be bipedal and that sort of thing. Would that be enough? How would they do that?
That's a great question.
Where does your imagination go with that?
So that you described would work. So let's say that, for example, they got one droplet of E. coli and dropped in all these different worlds or something like that. Yeah, then evolution would happen, and in those different worlds, you'd have different outcomes. People often think they have different outcomes because they have different environments, but an important piece, I'm going to come back to this just a second, is the role of chance. But let's set that aside for just a second. So with that particular thing, they're a little bit vague in the Chase in terms of what actually happened, because they just said the first hints of life were happening, but were they giving them an amino acid that was missing, or were they giving them what exactly did they put together? It's a little bit vague what happened there. Now there is of course the real theory called panspermia, which is that maybe life on Earth came from outer space, and again it could just be an actual single-celled bacteria. or it could be something that was missing. That's often called pseudo-panspermia, that like there's some rare amino acid on Earth, but then, once you put it on here and then more could be produced, it then became a lot more abundant. We don't know. I mean, there's no way. We'd have to rewind the clock and see. Though I guess Q already did that when we saw the goo.
Sure. I mean, to me, the more challenging part of that is why all these planets produced bipeds.
Oh, so this is the question. So I'm glad you went there. So
Really?
that is the problem with the role of chance, because people say like, oh, so they must have had exactly the same environment. Even if you had exactly the same environment, you wouldn't get the same outcome, especially 4 billion years later. That's so long. That is such a long time for you to get the same outcome. I mean, think of it. One analogy I like to say is, 60 million years or 65 million years ago, Earth was like covered with dinosaurs and stuff. And we had this asteroid impact on Earth, and that's what knocked back the dinosaurs and allowed the spread of different forms of mammals. Did that happen on every other one of those planets at exactly that same time? Right? I mean, that's a very random chance event. So
like, it's almost like without further explanation, the chase is almost a poor explanation, because it was supposed to be like the explanation on why all these Star Trek races look so similar, other than the fact that it's human actors. But
it sort of makes the return of like a sort of Lamarckian evolutionary idea, where it's like all this purpose is going to teleologically draw us forward in a really external telos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not the kind of life seeking its own survival sort of telos, but some really external development plan, right?
It does seem like that. It does seem like if there had to have been some sort of manipulation to make it so you would actually get that same outcome all the way through. Yeah, no, it very much seems like that. What the chase is good is explaining why there is the same basis for life on these different worlds. Like, why is most life carbon based? Why is it like have nucleic acids like DNA and RNA, stuff like that? For that, it works fine, right? But the humanoid bipeds that all are about the same size, like, okay. And all exist at the same moment too. It's not like they evolved on Romulus way earlier, now they're gone. But like, nope, they're all together all at the same time. There's a different episode. There's a different episode though, which explains it a lot better. This is one a lot of people actually. This is one people often forget. It's from the original series. It's the Paradise Syndrome. Have you seen this? The one with the Native Americans. Yeah. So remember there was that big obelisk and stuff like that, and Spock was studying the obelisk, and he said, oh, this was left by a super race known as the Preservers, and they would come to all these different worlds and seed them with people. So if you imagine, let's say, for example, you took humanoids from Earth, say, let's say 100,000 years ago or something like that, and put them someplace else. Yeah, they'd basically still look humanoid in that other world too, right? They'd basically look pretty similar. Maybe they would have evolved pointed ears. I mean, I don't know about the copper-based blood. That's a tough one. But but the ears, maybe. that could happen.
So the progenitors were just working too early. They were ahead of the game.
That's the biggest problem. Exactly. And the other thing is related to that is the reproductive compatibility. Like you're literally more closely right, you're literally more closely related to grass than you are to a Klingon based on that.
Enterprise may have done maybe the best job of addressing that in terms of the problem of T'Pol and Trip actually conceiving, right? That there's enormous sort of therapies involved in the process, even of allowing that to happen.
Yeah. I guess that was discussed a little bit. What was it, an E squared in that episode? I really talked about that.
Really late in the series, I think.
Yeah. Well, at the very end, they had a kid, but it was an artificial kid, so that doesn't count.
Well, that's something I think about often too. Like, really, like into the books and the novels, they got into a little bit more. Like, where the Titan that Riker captained, it had different sections of the ship that were like made for different environments for different species and stuff.
Yeah,
like. You would think like a Starship Enterprise D would be similar to that, where it's like you have a spot that's comfortable for the benzites and a spot that's comfortable for whoever.
Yeah. And Cerritos has that. Cerritos has it with Cetacean Ops.
Cetacean Ops. Well, you know what?
The only time we've seen Cetacean Ops.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, one question I had for you is there enough fruit flies in Star Trek?
No, not nearly enough. We need lots more.
I agree with you. Less in my house, maybe, but more in Star Trek.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. It's actually not that much insects at all. I mean, you see the occasional insects, but there's not much at all. It's interesting.
No, there's never like a mosquito that just bites somebody on an away mission or anything.
But what's fascinating too, along the lines of what you just said too, is that we talked just a minute ago about like all these different humanoids, but think about how many different planets you land on. The trees look just like the trees in California. Okay, I mean
Mhm.
that's no less improbable than everything else. Like, why should they look just like that? That's kind of amazing.
It's like, why does this planet look like the house plant section in IKEA? You know?
All right, exactly.
Yeah, or maybe they make the leaves purple or something.
Like,
if
did they
get a
evolve
little extra budget.
chloroplast and all these different places? I mean, think about the original event that like one microbe swallowed another and made chloroplast. Like that happened on all these different worlds. Like that's kind of amazing. Or the alternative is again with the preservers, it works fine. If they get like dropped off,
Mm-hmm.
if they were taken from Earth and dropped off, sure, that'd be fine. No problem there.
Yeah, I mean, although I suppose ultimately that does that kind of brings itself back to the question of how likely does even Star Trek think life is to evolve on places other than Earth?
Yeah.
You know, that sense of the sort of the either the optimism or the pessimism of which way you want to run the Drake equation.
Yeah.
Seems to me to still be sort of ambiguous in Star Trek, because these sort of progenitor races seem to have to do a lot of hard work to keep life going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there are a few origins with Star Trek, right? Because I mean, presumably the Tholians are completely different. Like they're clearly not here, right? Different environment. Different. The Horda, again, completely different. The microbrain or crystalline entities, maybe they're like you said, maybe they're the same thing. So there's a few origins there, but it's like a handful as opposed to
it
seems like there's a ton. Like it's really kind of a handful.
We've pondered entities like that on this show too, where it's like I kind of surmise that perhaps an entity like maybe not the crystalline entity, they're incredibly weird, but like a Gormagander or the sour milk suckers from TNG.
Oh, the Galaxy's Child, yeah.
The Galaxy's Child.
Got it. I was thinking about the thing from
things like that.
the Star Wars reboot thing.
It seems to me that life would probably have to evolve on a planet first and then somehow find a way to escape the planet into space. Do you think there would ever be like the potential of life evolving not on a planet?
That's hard because I mean, like
right?
Space, like as the word implies, space is pretty empty. So I'm just thinking, like getting all of the stuff together that you need. I mean, you could say maybe not on a planet, maybe on a big asteroid, or maybe on a comet, or maybe one of those. But just like in space, just trying to think, like, how would all this stuff get together?
Yeah, right.
That's a tough sell. I mean, is it possible? I mean, yeah, the universe is infinite, right? So I mean, it's probably possible, but it's probably so ridiculously unlikely that I don't know that we'd ever encounter something like that. But yeah, I think your hypothesis makes a lot more sense, that it would evolve first on a planet or comet or whatever, and then possibly evolve to the point where it can actually leave it.
So, I think the last time we talked about this, we were wondering about the ring structures around planets. If there were, maybe an environment that was almost like an amphibious, there's some rocky bits, there might be some trapped bits of environment gas or something like that just kind of floating around. And then maybe a necessity, an evolutionary pressure to have to move these distances might set you up for that, right? But again, you've got to have a planet with a ring around it and the right conditions, and we're astronomically unlikely already.
Yeah, and there's so many things because you need a mechanism to allow it to replicate or some way, right? Otherwise, I guess you could have life evolve and it's just the one life, and then it dies and that's it. That would be kind of sad. But for life, I mean, we tend to think of life as actually something that then replicates. So it's not like there's the one and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So you often hear the question, given to scientists and people all the time, which is, do you think there is life out there in the galaxy?
Yeah,
and I assume your answer is yes.
100%. Yeah. I mean,
the more interesting question for this show, I think, is in the vastness of the life in galaxy, do you think there is something like a Gormagander or something flying around in space, a biological entity living in space in the vastness? If you had to bet $50 on it, no money on the table.
Yeah,
it's all just theoretical.
I mean, again, I hate betting against something that's in the universe, but just I like to bet instead against the idea that we ever actually find something like that. I'd rather bet that than like nowhere, anywhere in the Andromeda galaxy or anywhere, all these other places. Like, I mean, that's all.
That's a lot.
Probably. I'm very comfortable with never finding that, but
yeah.
And the gorgometer is
Yeah.
a funny one too, because I mean it's fleshy like us, right?
Mhm.
Nice and stuff, but like it's out in space, so why
How
is
does
it not
that work?
frozen?
Yeah,
But
you know,
that was the one.
gumshoe's shell seems much
Yeah,
more.
they said it fed on like I forget what it said, like beta particles, some sort of particles about, but like it's really big. How many of those
So I,
particles
sup-
can it absorb?
I suppose there are like
Yeah.
some animals on Earth though that sort of have like a biological antifreeze. So
Yeah, no,
it could be
it's true.
something sort of
There
like
could be
that.
there could be something like that, but for me, it's also
Mhm.
just like how do you get to be that big when you're feeding on
What do you
particles?
eat? Yeah,
Yeah,
what do
because I
you
mean,
eat?
and
Yeah.
expending energy. Because I mean, we see it moving, so it's clearly expending energy. But like, there's like, is it getting enough nutrients to replace both the energy plus like the to produce that level of mass? That's a tough sell to me.
Yeah,
Mm.
microscopic life in space might be easier to
100%,
swallow, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Microscopic life in general is just a lot easier because you get around a lot of, you don't have to worry about the whole multicellular thing. You just need like one cell membrane of some sort to keep stuff in that is that, and then basically to make the boundaries of the organism and keep the stuff together. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's great.
hmm
I mean, if we were to ever find life, that's what I think we'd find. Like maybe on, in one of the moons of Jupiter or Saturn, like on Enceladus or something like that, we might find something
Mhm.
that's microscopic that looks vaguely like a cell we see here on Earth. And it would be exactly the same. No, of course not, but vaguely like it, and maybe it reproduces stuff like that. So,
Well,
one
Well, this
let's.
interesting.
brings me
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
to Venus. Actually, you know, we've heard a few times over the last few years that you know, Venus may have life signs in its clouds. Can you
Yeah.
just talk a little bit about what those life signs that we talk about either on sensors in Star Trek or in the real
Sensors.
world might
Oh yeah,
be?
no, I've had a hard time understanding that too. Because I mean, I think in case of Venus, I mean, one of the most recent things was like phosphine gas, and that was the thing they
Mhm.
said like,
Right.
oh yeah, they said like this is a sure sign of life. But it's tough because I mean, we always think of it in the context of, well, there's two options, right? One is can it be produced by life, and even when we say can it be, or sorry, can it be produced without life? But when
Mhm.
we say that, what is the life we're considering? If we're just considering our Earth life, like, well, okay, but maybe that's not the same, right? But
Mhm.
essentially, is there a natural process that can produce it? Even then, we're very limited to thinking about the natural processes that tend to happen most often on Earth. Now, you can't just extrapolate and just say like there's no chemical means for doing something without some extra manipulation. Okay, that makes it a little bit more. That was not the case for phosphine. Actually, they did find a possible route to get to that did not involve life to it. So that one in particular doesn't work. But I guess you could imagine something like that. But truly, like life signs, that's a tough one,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I guess if you found some like complicated protein, something like that we see from
Mhm.
here on Earth, okay, that's really unusual. I mean, might see like an individual amino acid, but like a big complicated protein. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to imagine
Well,
how it would come without life. But
and
maybe,
you
I
know,
mean,
that's what
maybe
I'm thinking.
there's
You know,
something.
like, you know, how are you going to get an echocardiogram or an encephalogram from orbit that's going to tell you, yeah, there's really complex, you know, neuroelectric activity happening? I don't, that to me
I've never
seems,
understood how those life sign things work. Yeah, no. I mean,
yeah.
but I mean, flip side is like look at the advances we've had right now in terms of figuring out like the atmospheres of exoplanets. I mean, the fact that we can do that blows my mind too. So I mean, is it possible we can find some way to see if there's some proteins up there? Maybe. I mean, I can't even imagine what that. I'm not an engineer, so I can't even imagine what that would be. But given that we could do the exoplanet atmospheres, I'm like, dang, okay, everything's on the table now,
That's true. That blows my mind in and of itself. Yeah.
right? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's hard to
one
search
thing
for
Venus,
life
we
for
can send a
like.
probe to
Yeah.
orbit of, but like exoplanets, like okay,
It's just like chemical makeups in the atmosphere. They're like, well, that chemical makeup of the atmosphere looks like life to me, and it's like, well, okay, but clearly Earth isn't like a complete baseline for all these assumptions, right?
that's the problem.
It's like
That's
what we use, but
Yeah.
neither in
there's
terms of the physical processes nor in terms of the possibilities of what life might do or what life might not do, right? One interesting thing that
right,
always gets me too
yeah,
is the conception of timing on everything too, because we tend to think of life sort of existing on our time scale. But
hmm
imagine there was life that like was doing all the processes that you saw, like you talked about before, like growing and reproducing all that stuff, but it did it over the course of like millennia.
Hmm.
We might land on a planet and like destroy the life, not even noticing it was there, right? Because it's like it's moving so slow and doing all this stuff so slow,
that's a good episode idea.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's a question. Um, So, yeah, where am I at here? Oh yeah, so here's an interesting biological entity we've seen in Star Trek. So, do you think there has ever been a time the Federation has been closer to being defeated and crumbling as with those neck parasites in TNG? Like those neck parasites almost got the job done, right? And like seriously, like that's one of the biggest threats you could think of for an entity like the Federation is some sort of biological contagion that, whether it has its own will or is being worked by somebody else, who knows? But like that was a good episode, never been explained, but also kind of a very realistic kind of entity, It's a kind of creature that you could imagine existing in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to. The tough thing is it would have to have evolved to work on humans in particular, or to work on earthbound organisms in particular. So if it never, let's say, for example, they never encountered humans, the odds that they can then do that on humans is pretty low, right? Like that.
And we saw it on a Vulcan too in that episode.
That's true. Yeah. So I guess that's a good point. Maybe that would be the workaround. Maybe they actually came from another planet that had humanoid species and they evolved there. And given all the humanoids are so darn similar, that's a good workaround. Actually, I'm glad you thought of that.
That's true.
I guess in terms of, you were talking about the destruction too. I mean, I guess the parallel thing would be like the Dominion, the shapeshifters, right? Because I mean, essentially, it's the same outcome with respect to us. Like they can essentially replace us. One is actually it's manipulating us, kind of like the analogy people always use. I hate that people use this analogy all the time. People always use the analogy of the fungus that can manipulate the ant. The thing is, like,
the cordyceps.
Yeah, exactly. Insect brains are not like our brains. They're very, 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 very basic. I mean, I don't know if you know, like you can look up online. There's a kit you can buy for like $100 called Robo Roach. And you can get
really?
It's a little backpack. You can put it on a roach and then you can like control it like with a remote control.
What?
You can't do that with people. I mean, and I don't mean just ethically. Obviously, you can't ethically.
Yeah.
There's no kit you can get to just like, okay, now remote control you. But just
wait till Elon Musk finishes his Neuralink.
Well, here's a topic that kind of moves into ethics a bit, because in Voyager we see the Vidians, right? Imagine you're like this species and your genetics is being attacked by this disease or whatever. Like
your body's
what it's hard to imagine the point at which you're ethically restricted to try and save your species, so it's like they're such an interesting species in that show. I think they're one of the best. But my kind of follow-up thing with them is, if the Federation brought them in, would their advanced medical technology like just be too big of an OP plot hole for the Federation? Like no one would have to worry about being injured or dying or anything because they're just so medically advanced. Like I debated once in one of our debate shows that they should probably be the number one species the Federation is trying to bring in because of their medical technology.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if
the Federation has that many medical problems. I mean, it feels like they just have their little devices that kind of fix anything anyway. So, I mean, I agree that the Vidians clearly have it better still, but I don't know that it would be OP. I think
okay.
I think it would be just a next level advance on things. So I wouldn't worry about that aspect.
Okay.
Good question. We were talking earlier about the aliens, though, the conspiracy aliens. I guess there's also the SETI eel. Remember that? It's kind of similar.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They even kind of look a little similar too.
True.
Yeah, that one didn't exactly manipulate. It just kind of made you, and that's actually a little bit more realistic because it would burrow in. It would just make you susceptible to suggestion. That seems fair
more like a cordyceps fungi.
Yeah, right. And it's more realistic because in that sense, it's not like actively controlling you like a puppet. It just broke something inside. It's like, okay, I can see that. I can imagine, even if they hadn't evolved with humanoids, that maybe they might do something like that to us. Okay.
That is a chilling scene. I remember that was one of those. I saw Wrath of Khan when I was a very small child for the first time, like maybe 8 or 9 years old. And oh man, that scene was just terrifying. Yeah. Just imagine like with the helmet on and it's just yeah, it really gets the sense of visceral horror the same way as that episode does, with the bowls of mealworms or whatever they are.
Oh, yeah.
So Dr. Noor,
Yeah.
should,
Mohammed's fine.
in your professional opinion,
Yeah.
should a Starfleet officer, let's just say a human, ever beam down to another planet in just a Starfleet jumpsuit?
Absolutely not. I'm glad you said that. Like, there's no, it's ridiculous.
Thank you.
Like, what? You have no idea what's down there. No, I don't care what you scan.
And they never
way.
care.
They
They never care. They're just like, what about the contagions on this planet?
We'll be okay. And
Yeah.
they say that, well, we have biofilters. Like, what if it kills you before you beam back up?
Like,
you
seriously.
don't know.
Like, I always, like, I kind of think about biology a lot, too, because I'm kind of a horticulturalist and like sustainability expert.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So, like, I'm always interested in like complete biological systems, and I'm like, these planets, they have these complete biological systems that have nothing to do with humans. You can't just go waltzing in there, man. I'm like, and they always do. And like, I would imagine like Starfleet officers must have to take like they never show it, but they must have to have vaccinations.
Oh my gosh!
First 6 months is just vaccination.
For 6 months on the job is vaccinations. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But,
Yeah. But you know, and there's a piece of technology that shows up, I think, only in the animated series. In once again, my favorite episode of the animated series, The Slaver Weapon.
Good one.
Where they show up on a sort of atmosphere-less rock, but they have personal force fields, which of course they can draw around them in a yellow line because it's the animated series.
Yeah.
But this is one of those pieces of technology that ever since I saw that episode, I thought, why Starfleet?
Yeah.
Why is that just not built into your comm badge?
Oh my gosh!
Just a little force field filters everything out, you know? But of course, then there's an awful lot of narrative directions that are cut off by that, you know?
Yeah. Have you seen shoot, I'm blanking on the name. What's the name of the show? It's not Dominion. The Isaac Asimov show.
Foundation.
Foundation. Yes, that. Have you seen Foundation? Do you remember
a little bits of it? Yeah.
Day, Dusk, Dawn? They have something like that, like around themselves, some little personalized force field.
Smart.
Yeah,
I think Buzz Lightyear has one of those too.
I think you're right. I think Buzz Lightyear does have one of those.
He'll take his to infinity and beyond.
There you go.
He sure will.
Oh, Disney's going to come after me now. This is terrible.
Your points are well taken, though. Like, yeah, no, I mean the lack of the lack of regard for contagion, things like, and even when they're doing medical procedures, they just all like walk up. You know, there's no personal protective stuff. There's no mask. Like, okay, let's just start doing this. What are you doing? This is crazy.
Yeah, I don't think force fields could really contain all that stuff ultimately. You know,
especially not when you're operating on the person,
getting your hands in there, right? Yeah.
Every now and then they have a little bit of something. Every now and then, but it's pretty spotty when they're doing that. They're very often operating with like other people just standing around. Like, what? Leave.
Here's a question that
owners aren't really the party room we make them out to be in that respect.
No.
Here's a question that may be a little more metaphysical than biological, but both. Is the transporter an effective means of transportation or a murder/cloning machine?
Murder/cloning machine, 100%. You said the transport like death machine.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's not even your molecules being put back together, right?
No.
It's just
where are they getting these molecules for one?
What's that?
Where are they even getting these molecules on the other side for one?
I'm guessing they're just assembling stuff that's in the air down there into you, but it's like it's not you. It's 100% not you. It's a complete copy of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and like, I mean, you're not even just you. Like all the like microorganisms that are also you. Like they getting all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I guess
they usually filter out that stuff, don't they? I don't know.
Oh, that's true. Good point.
The tricky part here, though, is that consciousness does abide through the process. As we know, when Barclay sees the weird transphasic aliens coming into his body in the middle of the stream, right? Or when Picard is being taken off of Eladrel in the middle of the fight with the monster and Dathon, right? In Darmok. there is a consciousness that's abiding across the dissolution of the body into energy, right, and its reconstitution. What does that say about the quality of life? Like, where are we going to put cognition into this mix, and how can you see cognition, say, developing differently in different evolutionary contexts?
It's wonderful. I don't have any answers to those. Those are big questions.
That's what we do here on the Tutors.
Do speculate, please.
We speculate. But
I mean, I guess this gets into the question of is there even free will, or is it just like that's just the set of instructions you happen to have at that moment in your body based on the chemicals that are right there? And that point, if you're just making a copy of it, then you're basically, it'll just continue on because it's just that same set of chemicals, right? So it does get a little bit into that. Do we actually have a free will, or does it just seem like we do, and we've deluded ourselves into thinking we do?
Well, precisely, right? Are we reducible to some sort of
fundamental something?
Yeah, no, exactly. We think we're making a decision, but like, nope, it's just because that like atom went over this way instead of that way, and that's why that happened that way. And I think I made that call, but nope. If Adam had gone the other way, I wouldn't have.
I don't think there's really a settled decision in Star Trek, because I'm thinking about the episode with the Traveler where people's thoughts become reality. Right, which seems to argue that at the very edges of the universe we get to this place where thought and being are really convertible, whereas in the regions we seem to inhabit, there's a much more stable relationship between sort of thought and physicality, right?
Yeah.
But there doesn't seem to be a settled answer for that. I'm thinking about mind melds and that sort of thing.
No, I mean, it still could be just purely physical. I mean, it could be for either of those things. It could be purely physical. Yeah, the other related thing to that, and oh shoot, I lost my train of thought as I was saying it. The molecule went the wrong way.
Oh yeah,
neurons fire wherever they want to fire.
Shoot, I lost the train of thought as I was about to say, because I started thinking about the mind meld when you said that.
Well, it comes back to you. But here's something that was kind of bugging my mind a little bit on Picard season 2, the biosynths, right? Like,
oh yeah,
is that technology? Like, I understand like technology being built to create a biosynth, but is the biosynth itself a piece of technology, or is it just a biological entity like the rest of us? They keep referring to the biosynths as machines. Yeah, but I'm like, does that make sense? Like,
the reason I would say that, I'm just arbitrarily picking like the definition I would use in terms of, from my perspective, it's a machine if it was made by something that was not, essentially it was just manufactured, right? That's the way I think. So if humans ran a program on some device that then outputted a biosynth, to me that's a machine, right?
So there's artifice.
It doesn't say that it's not alive, but it's just, to me, it's just a machine. Now, to a large extent, we are machines, right? We're just machines that are just happen to have come out from this weird biological process that's just been running for the last 4 billion years. Right?
But I see the distinction you're making between our arising through that given process and something else arising through a process of artifice or skill or technology, right?
Exactly. That's at least the definition I would use. So in that sense, I would say they are still machines. But I also wouldn't somebody saying that we are machines. Like, yeah, no, we are machines, but we're a different kind of machine. We're part of a machine from a program that's been running for that long, for the 4 billion years.
Well, it's kind of like the argument Picard makes in Measure of a Man too. It's just like the similarities between machine and biological isn't that different. When you're someone like Data.
Yeah. So an interesting question though that you could pose back, and this I don't have a good answer to. If biosynths made other biosynths,
would they?
Yeah, if they're reproducing.
Yeah. At that point, do they still count as machines?
That's where I want to go with that question.
Yeah,
would
right.
The children of the biosynth be a machine?
Yeah,
right. Because then you're removing. You're kind of 2 steps removed from the.
Yeah. And how far are we from that? I wonder. Like, how far are we from machines that can just make copies of themselves, and they have a set of instructions that occasionally will mutate, quote unquote, and then they'll make a slightly different machine, right?
This is actually my third Dave.
The first 2 died one in an unfortunate fishing accident, and the other one It was a transporter. It's always
Oh, the transporters.
You know, yeah. But yeah, the Vorta factories are pumping me out at a great
The
rate.
Vorta factories. Oh, so that's an interesting. So the Vorta factories run by Vorta,
Right?
Maybe at that point that's how they're reproducing. Yeah,
Great point, World Minds.
It's a good
Yeah,
quote.
if the galaxy was an ocean, we only know a cup's worth of its knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Cup
got to
might
be
be
Vorta.
generous.
I suspect, are there Vorta operating the factories that make their own clones, or is that some other species
Yeah.
that operates? Because we know the Dominion employs other species for other things, right? But
yeah,
the Vorta and the Jem'Hadar are sort of their tools.
Yeah. No, it's a great question.
I was wondering if there was a real world equivalent to the Enterprise cogenitor episode, where there's that like third gender who enters this enzyme into the reproductive process. Is there something on Earth that does that, like whether microbiology or anything?
There are species that sometimes need something else. So I mean, I don't know about the enzyme piece like that. I don't know any examples of that, but this is kind of a much milder example. But like, think of something like a nest parasite. So like cuckoos will like go and leave their eggs and something else. So they're using some other species, even not even a different gender, but using other species to take care of stuff. Now, more directly relevant to the cogenitor, because cogenitor is still part of their same species, right?
Yeah.
A lot of birds have helpers at the nest, right? That where siblings will stick around and help take care of the offspring. It's not an enzyme, it's not a chemical process that's needed for reproduction, but to get a subsequent adult, they're getting help from a third or possibly fourth individual.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a light example. It's not quite the same as this sort of chemical thing where you need this chemical from this thing.
Yeah.
I suppose the example to me is bees and flowers.
Yeah.
That there's a flower, there's a pistil, there's a stamen, but they need something to carry the stuff across in an effective.
So again, that's another species completely.
Yeah. It's
like a symbiotic relationship.
Beehives are a good example, right? Because I mean, maybe that's no different from say the worker bee. Because I mean, there's the drone, there's the queen, those are the reproductive, but then there's the workers. So are they the progenitors?
There's a Borg.
Yeah, right. And the progenitors also. I mean, sorry, the worker bees would also feed one of the bees, the queen jelly or whatever the royal jelly, which makes it turn into a queen. So they're actually even controlling to some extent what comes out. Maybe they're kind of progenitors, right?
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty close. I like that one. Yeah, I love bees. We can get a beehive next year, I think.
Oh, credit to Dave. Dave suggested the bee thing at first, and I was like, oh yeah, well, actually we can run with that.
Yeah, they should hire us all.
That's right.
I'll just write some Star Trek episodes. Yeah. Well, they've hired you already, and that was a good call.
I've never written Star Trek. I've just like consulted in terms of the science.
Have you ever suggested any sort of?
I was suggesting ideas general ideas, but nothing.
Yeah.
So, like for example, in season 4 of Discovery, the fact that species 10C was using chemical communication and specifically by hydrocarbons, that I did suggest that they put that in there. But like, it's not like I wrote any part of the script. It was just, except for like just editing a little bit of dialogue here and there from what they wrote. I mean, I'm not a writer by far. I'm just somebody who helps out a little bit. And even in terms of science consulting, they have staff, Dr. Erin McDonald. She's the science advisor for the whole franchise. I like to say she's the sheriff.
She's coming on the show sometime here soon too.
Oh, awesome. She's fantastic. I love her. So I like to say she's the sheriff of science in Star Trek, and I'm somebody who's just occasionally deputized when they need more help.
You're Doc Holliday.
Yeah, there you go. That's generous. I don't think I'm that essential. I'm just like I'm that other deputy nobody's heard of that occasionally helped out.
Oh no! I think they should run the scripts by the science team every time, and just to clean it up a little. Just Star Trek, not other things.
Dr. Erin McDonald and I actually were friends long before we were both working on Star Trek. So it's funny, we were even giving talks at sci-fi conventions about science in Star Trek before either of us had anything to do with it.
Oh, right on.
It's funny that we then converged over there, like, oh, hey.
Manifest.
Did you get to know each other through research then before that?
No, from sci-fi conventions. Like we
just sci-fi convention. Oh, right on.
Yeah, I met her at Dragon Con in 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a small world in the end.
Yeah. She was already presenting there. I didn't start presenting Dragon Con until 2016, but she was already presenting in 2014.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but we did a talk together in 2018 before either of us had any association with the franchise. So,
if you could make one change to Star Trek in the biological sense, in like the representation of biology,
yeah,
what would it be? Would it be like the compartments? What was it?
Mutations. Every sci-fi
Mutations?
sucks when they use the word mutation. As soon as they say mutation, like, oh my god, what's going to happen? It's always bad because every show always uses me. They're like, oh, he's mutating or she's mutating, and then all of a sudden they become some other sort of organism. Like, that is not what would happen. Because it would have to be like the same genetic changes in all the cells, and they're working in concert. Like no, if you were just randomly mutating all over, it'd just be like crazy cancerous growth, and you just die. It would not be like you become a salamander. It would not be any of these other things that you tend to see in the shows when they say the mutations are out. Yeah, that would be right.
So,
like, stop.
So no warp 10 salamanders is what you're saying.
No warp 10 salamanders. Though, you know about the paper in this regard, right? Do you know the story?
No, go on.
I don't think so.
Yes.
Okay.
If you go onto Google and you just search for fake Voyager paper, right? You can try it right now.
Doing
you
it
find
now.
a lot of hits there. Did you find one? I see Dave's typing it in right now.
He's typing away. He looks like he's doing it on his phone though, so it's going to take a moment.
That's okay.
Yeah. I'm typing it.
Fake Voyager paper. So somebody actually wrote a scientific paper about the
fake science paper about Star Trek and Warp 10 was accepted by predatory journals. Oh man!
Oh no way! It actually got it.
This is beautiful. It's like Star Trek's own Stokel hoax. This is wonderful.
What's funny is
like a modern Voynich manuscript where it's just like bullshit and everyone's buying into it.
If you read the paper itself, like the authors are Thomas Paris, Harry Kim,
it'd have to be those two,
Catherine Janeway, and the last author was Robert Zimmerman. He's the corresponding author, Robert Zimmerman. Which remember, But if you read it, actually, the text actually reads like a real paper. It reads like it. If you don't think hard about it, it reads kind of normal, right? And then you get to the methods, and it's just like, we subjected some human subjects to maximum celerity, which celerity just being speed, parentheses, warp 10. It goes through all, and then the results section just recounts the episode kind of scene by scene, but just using science speak. Right?
All they had to do was call warp 10 celerity, and they're like, seems legit.
Seems legit. What's great is this then, I don't know if you caught, this actually came back in Lower Decks. So if you watch the episode of Lower Decks, it's called We Always Have Tom Paris. There was a scene there where Boimler was all excited about Tom Paris coming to the ship. And Mariner says, is he still a salamander? And she says, no, that was a celerity-induced increase in mutation rate. Basically the title of that paper.
Oh, that's an amazing callback. And Lower Decks is so good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Oh,
wow.
Man.
That's like
Art
the best.
Imitates life.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
Well, it was funny because it started on the show, then it went outside into science, and it came back to the show.
Oh, no. Apparently, we're not getting into the real biology question. Tuvix and humans evolving into salamanders.
No, we got the humans evolving salamanders. Apparently, it's real. There's a scientific paper that says it happened.
I guess we have to give Tuvix a moment then.
Tuvix. So Tuvix is
again, Tuvix, massive
crazy
cancers.
as it sounds in some levels.
Well,
because I mean, so with Tuvix, what's interesting with that is that the final organism, Tuvix, has all the genes of, and let's set aside all the memory stuff. That doesn't work at all. It has all the genes of a Vulcan, but he also has all the genes of a Talaxian, right? So what that
should he be twice as big?
I mean, that's a good question too. There's a whole mass problem there too, and like there's also what happened with the outfit. We're not even going to touch that.
The outfit bothers me. But
right. But if you think about it, we all have 2 copies of all our chromosomes, right? The ones we got from mom, ones we got from dad. Tuvix should have actually 4, so he'd be actually a polyploid rather than a diploid, because we're called diploid because we have 2 copies. He'd be a polyploid if you have 4. They're actually in plants and in fish, not in mammals so much, but plants and in fish and a couple other things. You're actually more likely to get these sorts of hybrids that have 4 or basically all the copies from both than you are to just get like a 1 and 1. And those tend to survive better. So it's not completely crazy. I mean, obviously it doesn't really work, but it's not as crazy as it could be. It's actually closer to real than it could have been. I'm sorry, than most of those. Not that it could have been. It's closer to real than other shows have done.
Well, Star Trek is the gold standard.
Star Trek is the gold standard.
Sure is. God, do we have anything else we want to discuss here, Dave?
Well,
I
mean, I'd love to get into the neuroscience of mind melds, but
I'm not a neuroscientist, but
like it's an exciting thought, right? This sense of sort of. I was watching a very interesting podcast on the Theories of Everything channel. I don't know if you catch that at all. It's a Canadian filmmaker, science guy called Kurt Jaimungal. Anyway, this fellow was talking about a voltage-based understanding of sort of brain activity, consciousness, that sort of thing, and it got me thinking about mind melds. If there's some sort of, we use our screens with haptic interface because we're conductive. If the copper blood in the Vulcans is somehow allowing them to get at electrical fields somehow, it feels like there's some sort of basis for that physically, but how they know to grab those spots on a human's face, I don't understand.
Yeah, and it feels like you'd have to essentially dissect the brain and be touching all the right spots.
Right, you need some sort of like where you grab on a Klingon is going to require 3 arms to get at.
Yeah, right.
Well, luckily there is a species with 3 arms.
That's true. You need a spare Adosians.
Adosians.
Is that what it is?
That's right.
I think so.
I was up on that. I've seen the animated series once through, but that's it. I've only seen it the one time, so I don't have it.
Once is enough.
It's a pretty wild ride.
It is a wild ride. Yeah. I didn't watch it till like 2019, or it's fairly recently when I saw it. Actually, I didn't even know as a kid that it existed. Like, oh, there was a.
Well, it was really hard to catch the whole thing anywhere before Netflix put it back up a few years ago. Yeah, it was really not. It wasn't in circulation too much.
It won an Emmy.
Which classic and which modern Star Trek are each of y'all's favorites?
Oh, well, DS9 is I tell everyone DS9 is the greatest story ever told. It's cohesive in that way where it's kind of just one singular story. And
it's arc-based.
I just love it. I love all the characters. I think it's just so superbly acted. Mm-hmm. As far as modern, it's probably Lower Decks.
Okay.
Because it's just so good. But I give Strange New Worlds another minute and we'll see. Okay. We'll talk. But,
it's interesting you pick Strange New Worlds over Discovery, because Discovery is more arc-based than Strange New Worlds is, whereas you kind of like the arc for...
True. And I'm more of a singular episode kind of guy. DS9 is sort of like the exception.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Dave?
Well, I'm of 2 months because my trouble is Picard's my captain.
Yeah.
But I do love that just kind of going from strength to strength that DS9 develops from sort of the end of season 3 forward in particular. Yeah. There's just that sense of building that is really wonderful.
I didn't go back to the end of season 2, like when they first introduced where the Dominion was. I'd go back to that even,
Yeah, that's a really low key episode the way that happens too. It's really interesting.
I'm even in a season 1 defender myself. I love a good game of Alamarain.
Oh my gosh! There was the Tosk episode. That was great. Right?
Tosk is good. Yeah. We are all Tosk.
We are all
Tosk.
I was worried, Mohammed, you were going to read my description for this episode and see my improper use of the word evolve and not even show up. Because I suggested that this show evolves. But of course, we all know a singular entity cannot evolve. It happens over generations.
There you go. Well said.
I knew what I was doing, so it was a little tongue-in-cheek with the bad use of the
word. My book is called Live Long and Evolve, which actually doesn't work either for the same reason, right? But if you think of it in the context of a populations can live long and evolve, but individuals obviously cannot, because individuals cannot evolve. That's another Star Trek.
That's going on my Christmas list. Right now.
Okay.
Live long and evolve.
Oh
yeah. Oh, I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, it's basically the Duke University's introductory genetics and evolution class, but all framed using examples from episodes of Star Trek.
Nice.
That sounds amazing. It's like a free education, but like Star Trek at the same time.
Yeah, not quite free. It's like $15.99 or whatever. So...
by education standards, that's free.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, by university bookstore standards, that's
definitely by university bookstore standards, it's free.
So are you at Duke?
I am at Duke University. Yeah,
Right on.
I mean, not physically this moment.
Not
but-
a Duke.
Sure.
At Duke.
No.
Yeah.
And what I mean beyond sort of these interests, what's your particular focus in biology itself?
Genetics and evolution.
And fruit flies.
And fruit flies, specifically using fruit flies. That's what
Well,
I use for my experiments. Yeah.
Fruit flies are really neat. You know what I like enjoy about fruit flies is like you think of what
small.
You think of what a housefly looks like, but if you zoom in on a fruit fly, it looks more like a housefly than a housefly does. That's my fruit flies.
I mean, what I love about
That
those
blew my mind.
generation time is tiny. Like you can get a generation in 2 weeks. It's pretty amazing, right? So you can do evolution.
That is amazing.
Yeah, 2 weeks from egg to adult and get the next egg.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Star Trek episode like that where it's like that? It all happened super fast. So they were down there for like an hour, but it was actually like weeks and weeks.
Blink of an eye, Voyager.
Blink of an eye.
Well,
Right,
and there's a Pulaski episode in season 2 of TNG where they're trying to engineer perfect human children.
Yeah.
And they end up aging like crazy as a sort of communicable virus they pass to others.
Exactly. There was some virus with it that they then developed antibodies too, which were then being emitted and were making everybody age like crazy. Yeah. I forget the name of that episode, but I remember the one you're talking about.
Yeah, they were really tragic, those kids.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I guess they just got left there. Then there's somebody just put it in there. Unnatural selection.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Sam's one of our stalwart.
Excellent. But you know,
does Dr. Noor watch Star Trek Prodigy? Did anything neat stick out to him? I helped a little bit with episode 15 of Prodigy.
Did you?
Just a tiny bit, but not enough to get in the credits. It was literally just like a line of dialogue or a line or two of dialogue. That was the one to remember where they finally figured out that Dal was basically genetically engineered.
Right. That was super interesting.
Yeah.
He's like a combination of everything. I love Prodigy. By the end, it was like amazing.
Yeah, but the fact that they say that like he was a product of artificial hybrid speciation, that was the little piece that I slipped in there. Because hybrid,
but they also augment, so the Federation's going to hate him because he's a little
true. Good
point. They don't like augments. They're like, well, we don't mind the Klingon parts of you and that stuff, but that augment, no. We don't play with the augments over here.
No, you're out.
Yeah.
What were you going to say there about hybrid speciation?
Oh, yeah. So hybrid speciation is an interesting thing, too. What that is if you have two species that then you essentially like mix their genomes together, you can sometimes get a third species that can't interbreed with either of the first two. So that was the text I thought that'd be an interesting way to have Dahl basically be his own kind of thing. He's not just a hybrid, but he's actually a different sort of species. And in his case, it's artificial instead of natural because it wasn't from interbreeding and mixing of genes that way, but it was actually artificially done. So that's why the text in it was a product of artificial hybrid speciation.
Well, I think we're getting to a close here. We don't want to take up all your time.
Yeah. I also want to put hashtag save Star. Oh, saved Star Trek Prodigy. Yeah.
Save Star Trek Prodigy. Well, it's been saved, sort of.
Yeah.
Has it?
Sort of. Well, Netflix picked up the second season. I don't know that we'll get a third. I hope we do.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hope save Star Trek Prodigy in that sense.
I have a tiny bit with season 2, so with stuff I can't talk about yet, but it's good, or at least the show is good. I don't know, not sorry, my part.
But yeah, other than your socials, there, where can the people find you and your output?
Yeah, so I'm on
Star Trek related
all
or
the
not.
channels at Mohamed Noor, MAF like Frank and like November OOR. So it's like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Threads, LinkedIn. It's all Mohamed Noor. Or on YouTube is Biotrekkie, BIOTREKKIE. Just search that and it'll come up on YouTube.
It does. I've done it.
Oh, good.
I should definitely check that out. That's it for us. I think that only remains one thing to say.
Indeed. End transmission.
This program is a proud part of the Swear to Pod Network.